Coming up on this episode.
It wasn't until I got to Wounded Warrior Battalion when I realized there are other options, and actually that unit encouraged holistic living, encouraged natural health, dieting, smoothies, juicing, all that.
Welcome to What the Healthcare Podcast. I'm your host, Emily, and today is November 19th, 2024. And my guest today is a very good friend of mine, Justin, aka Knowledge. I found him on TikTok, and honestly, he has become such a dear and close friend to me. And I am so happy to have him on and to be able to share just a little bit about who he is so that people can get to know him too. Welcome, Justin.
Hey, Emma. Thank you for that introduction. And yeah, likewise, first of all, highly respect everything that you've always done here, and standing up at a time really when people need a good influence in that field. I think you inspired a lot of medical personnel to speak out, and it was just a time when people really needed that.
Well, thank you. And same to you, honestly, coming out of healthcare, you were one of the first people I found that had alternative means and information to really, you are one of the top people, honestly, probably the person that took me down this road of understanding and learning about natural modalities. Coming out of just Western med, everything was obviously very different. So I so appreciate for that. And I mean what I say. This man has so much information. His username Knowledge, it's he walks the walk. So I guess tell us, obviously I know how I met you through the app, but how long had you been on the app? What drove you to social media and actually to this alternative medicine space?
Well, obviously, a lot of us either end up here because of our own suffering or someone else's. And so, I would say suffering led me here. That's my general answer. But I like to think that I suffered for a reason. I came down with pretty severe gastrointestinal issues, and had unexplainable inflammation, had a lot of severe pain. I was pretty much low in physical activity, almost borderline sedentary lifestyle. And the only thing I really did was get up and go in and, check in for work, and that was I was on the couch most of the time. So I was in the military when this happened, by the way, and, for people who don't know. And so I ended up, getting put on pharmaceuticals that really, I think just worsened my symptoms. I ended up experiencing a pharmaceutically induced seizure that I think that has a lot to do with why I'm here too, because it was at that point that I pretty much gave up on pharmaceuticals wholesale, because that one was considered to be safe.
Safe and effective.
Tramadol. Yeah.
Ah.
So, yeah. Yep. Anyway, I don't take anything pharmaceutical anymore. I won't trust it in my body. I've been this way for years. And I had to find other ways to heal myself, because I wasn't going to go down that path again and end up having, worsening symptoms and things like that, because I experienced it. There were things that even, felt okay for a little bit. It felt like they helped for a little bit. And then it was just kind of it wanes off over time, because it's not actually making your body better unless you're making your body better. I didn't understand this until I understood it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from there, it was getting into older styles of living, because at a certain point you ask yourself, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, people were doing something for medicine, right? what was it? We have this reality built around us that this is the only medicine that there is. This is the end all be all. And it's just not true. And so I think going into naturopathic medicine, learning more about nutrition, Jordan Rubin really helped me with a lot of that. Like, with his content, I put a lot of research and studying and reading into different publications written by naturopathic doctors and also integrated MDs in other countries, scientists in other countries. I think one thing, and also too, obviously, like the scientific studies of other countries. That's really what a lot of people don't understand is like they do clinical studies on like herbs, herbal compounds, and the like. They just don't really highly fund them in the U.S. And so any of these clinical studies that are not developed in the U.S. that are not well funded are denoted as clinically biased. Why? Because it has to be funded by an herbal company's doing it. And it's like, well, and I don't know that that's the case in all cases. Like I'm not as keen on finding out where all the money comes from when it comes to the foreign studies, to be honest with you. But honestly, where, you have one finger pointing at you, three more, are pointing back, right? The pharma companies fund their studies. I mean, we're all aware of this. So it's, in a lot of ways, they've been pointing the same finger at the naturopathic community and the holistic community for a long time of the same shit that they do. Mm-hmm. Not to come off unprofessional or anything, but just, being straight up. It's the same exact activity. And so they're calling it, it's like the pot calling the kettle black, really. I don't know how many other ways I could put this.
It's like projection. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that earlier and how, medical doctors get with their patients when they start questioning or, they start saying things like, hey, this could help, that could help. And they have the reality flipping upside down,
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to watch.
Yep. Well, and especially as a patient, I mean, how that must feel. So was like anybody in your family into natural medicine? Like, was your mom, like, how did you even know to go down that route? Out of curiosity.
Nah, like, I honestly, everyone around me thought I was crazy. Everyone, yeah. Like, I started having some of the closest people to me saying that I was, like, practicing magic. Especially, like, and weird stuff like that. I'm serious. Especially as, like, people started getting better around me and they started seeing some of the things that, we can make happen. They got real kind of, like, dogmatic and superstitious and weird at first. And I'm, like, explaining to them, I'm like, yo, God made this stuff. It's not, I mean, I pray over the stuff and I pray for, people and everything and all that. Of course I do. We all should as healers, right? You should be, if you're wanting people to get better and all, it goes so far beyond just selling them a product. It goes so far beyond just, hey, do this and don't do that. It's so much more than that. I try to motivate my people to actually work these things out within themselves. Why do I do this? Why do I not do it? What motivates me to? Whatever it takes. And so, and sometimes it's that thought process. It's that idea that, yeah, a system was built around against you. You don't have to fail the experiment. That was one of the things that, like, I've been saying for years is you don't have to fail the experiment. You can beat the experiment. It's some subtle changes, a little bit, more energy here and there, a little bit more, time and effort, studying, learning. These are some of the major things. And then obviously also too is like, funding for the right lifestyle. Why, go organic food? Why does that even make sense? If we're not doing organic, we're going, you know, uh, nearby farmer, you know, organic-ish as close as we can. Like, why would we tell people to do that? Why does that make sense? And why would we go through all the trouble, the more money and everything? It's like, well, first off, it goes so far beyond just a sticker. People think it's all about a sticker. And that's just not exactly true. The truth of the matter is that there's a seed to shelf process for that. Now, could that process be improved? I'm sure all those processes could be improved. But what that sticker guarantees is that it's like 97 to 99% of what that can or that product says is in there is actually in there.
Yeah.
And you can't get that guaranteed with a lot of other things. And organic food has been found to contain 5 times the nutrient density of chemically grown products.
Wow.
Who's getting hustled at the store?
Right. All of us.
You know, it's like, think about it. This is why I go with it. That's why, although, like, yeah, you know, it seems like it's a little bit more and everything, I understand that when I go to eat that non-organic can of peas, I don't feel as full. I recognize it in my body, especially since I've made the switch.
Yeah, you're probably really in tune to it.
I wouldn't go back to anything else. Now, I've heard crazy things, crazy theories about people who, you know, I'm gonna go like somewhat abstract just for a moment, but just kind of wake people up, open up people's minds a little bit, get you exposed to some of the things that I've heard and, you know, reasoned with. That there's apparently people from lost civilizations that have been found. I don't know exactly where the civilizations were, whether it be like out in the woods or in a cave somewhere or, you know, in the earth or whatever's going on here. Okay. That the people here tried to feed them food, like the type of food we eat, and they wouldn't eat it. They would actually allow themselves to starve before they would put it in their body. They tried to feed the people fresh local like produce and stuff. They gobbled it right up.
Interesting.
That was the only thing they would eat. And there was very few of them that would actually survive coming into our culture because of that problem. And that, you know, you can do your own research on that. I'm not trying to point to certain cases or point to certain anythings with that. I'm just helping people open their minds to the concept of it's true and possible that there are humans that have never actually lived this way. And if you think about it, our ancestors a few centuries ago were just like them.
Yep.
We are part of the experiment right now with the whole, you know, petroleum industry taking over medicine, taking over life, energy, information, everything. It's all petroleum based, and we're all expected to just kind of just play along and pretend like it's not happening right in front of us. You know, like we got to do something about this. And actually, it's funny that you say that because like Amanda sent me a really, you're going to be having Amanda on your next
yes
show. And she's awesome, by the way, you know, big shouts to like Amanda Holistic. Yeah, I think her new TikTok, I'm still trying to remember everybody's TikTok channel. So her new TikTok channel is Unlearn and Relearn Academy, I think. But she kind of goes through channels a little bit too. But she sent me some really good content on this that like I'll send your way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't want to speak on it too much because it's not like my idea or anything. But I was like, wow, this is actually an interesting concept, and I could see, you know, why this could be a good place for, you know, the world to turn to when it comes to replacing plastics. We really need to get away from plastics.
Oh my gosh! Like, how did we even get here? Where you look? I mean, even in our food, the food we eat. I mean, it's just like, how did we get here? That all of this stuff has been allowed.
Petroleum.
And I know. Well, I know. You know, money. It comes back to greed. Go ahead.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Petroleum.
Yes, I do. Rockefeller is to blame for a lot of that.
So we're speaking to
in the
like,
drug industry.
yeah, like
Industry.
Rockefeller medicine and like public education, all of it. Yeah, we definitely need to like, it's the time.
Yeah. And more people, I think, are waking up to it, but which is lovely to see. But we can't give up. Like we got to keep going and going and going because the world needs to be aware of what's going on.
They need to know the alternatives. That there are alternatives.
Exactly.
And so today I want to speak on hyperbaric oxygen therapy because this is something that I would never make money off of speaking.
Okay.
And that more people should know about, and that the medical system, in my opinion, in my mind, is hiding from people. That there's numerous conditions hyperbaric oxygen would contribute to, that the hyperbaric oxygen therapy would contribute to. These tanks are so underrated. And, underscored. They are, I think, in so many ways, a hidden gem. They've experimented on them for like TBIs, PTSD, injuries, recovering from injuries, things like that. Combat related injuries, especially. They've had pretty good success with it. Well, if you can improve complete reconditioning of tissues based off massive injuries from combat, even in the brain, TBIs, what else can that thing do in the body? Why aren't y'all releasing this? Why is this not readily available? Why aren't there hyperbaric clinics everywhere right now? Is one of my biggest questions. And I can tell you right now, I don't want to say that directly competes with me. It doesn't really directly compete with me, but damn, I would just like to see if people got to have something that plugs into a wall to make them better sometimes. I want to see more people be better.
Or have like clinics, like they have these like IV infusions now. Just do clinics, do where you have hyperbaric chambers. Yeah, I mean, well, we know why. I don't know. Some of it is has the right person just not like thought to do it yet, or is it go beyond that and it really has to do with money and that people do not make the system at large money.
I honestly think that it's something that if anything, it should be offered in more medical practices as a whole. If we're going to cover medical costs, man, there's a lot of medical costs that we cover based on medical insurance, tax money, things like that. That would be something I wouldn't mind tax money going toward.
Right.
And what do we put it toward? And so, yeah, it would be nice to see them expand more of that. Also, too, a lot of the original information that they were dropping on hyperbaric oxygen therapy was taken back down off the internet, which, it makes me say that I can't, I know what it was because I was watching it as it was happening. I was watching, this as it was developing because they were experimenting on it primarily for veterans. That's why it's part of why I was so interested in it. And yeah, and you just don't really see anything on it. And this is the thing, it goes right back to the science of Everett L. Storey. You know who Everett L. Storey is,
I don't.
right? So he's the man who developed hydrogen splitting technology.
Okay.
And in so doing, he was meaning to develop it for like energy and medical purposes. Obviously, the science itself was taken and misused to develop, large explosives. So this is the man who developed that technology. It was not just, there was a lot of scientists that were involved with this. So you get into his work, which, he was overexposed to radiation while developing hydrogen splitting technology. He and his whole team was.
Okay.
And so they developed radiation sickness. They were getting really sick. A lot of people don't know the story, but it's fascinating.
I haven't heard it.
Yeah, he was... he was declared terminal,
Mm-hmm.
which a lot of people, don't exactly know what terminal means. What do you think terminal means?
There's no coming back. You're gonna die.
Yeah, it's like less than years to live, basically,
Yeah.
is the way I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and this happened in his 30s. He ended up developing a formula out of that, getting himself and his team on it, making some lifestyle changes. He ended up living to be, I think he was like 80 years old, something like that. And he actually, like, there's people who have taken that formula and reproduced it. Lumina Cell Food is like the one that's how I understand a lot of this. They're the ones that actually promote that product. It's a good product. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I don't really make any money off telling anybody that. That's just good information for people to know.
Mm-hmm.
But this goes right to the science of Dr. Otto Warburg, who, found that cancer thrives in a acidic, hypoxic environment.
Mm-hmm.
Low iron, contributes to this as well. Low, circulation, low RBCs. So as the tissues become more acidic, they become more hypoxic. You need hydrogen in order for the oxygen to get there. It's science. It's scientific.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what really contributes so heavily to the rise in cancer and everything. When you add dissolved hydrogen, dissolved oxygen, the way that Everett Storey was in his formula, it directly fights this. Well, this is also my theory on why hyperbaric oxygen therapy should work for people.
Okay.
Because so many people's cells are hypoxic. And so when you're able to properly oxygenate their bodies in a pressurized environment that is conducive for the absorption of oxygen, it changes everything about the way that their cells operate and the way that their body reconditions tissues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If TBIs are being helped, well, TBIs are scar tissue related.
Pretty much.
So this is just some of the things that people really should know about. I mean, it's just what do I think about when I go to sleep at night? Man, it's like a society.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine being in your brain. I get lost. Help! I don't understand.
Happens all the time.
So do you think that this has anything to do with this new trend of ozone and hydrogen waters that they're pushing?
I think a lot of people have been listening to people like me for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just seeing, the alkaline water push has really been a big deal. And I think it's good that people understand alkalinity and how important having, a good, strong, open, detox pathway cycle really is in your body.
Mm-hmm.
I think prior to this alkaline water trend and all that, I think people just didn't understand that we really do need to be detoxing our bodies, and more people are coming around to it. And so it's therefore leading people to understand, okay, well, if we're detoxing, what are we detoxing? There's more layers to this. It's not just, I'm just detoxing just to detox. Why do I gotta detox in the fucking first place?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. We should get into that some too, because I was asking him, is there a standard detox? Where do I start if I just come to you and say, I just want to do a whole body detox and get everything out of my system that I've ever put into it? And which is kind of how I've always looked at it. And you're like, well, do you want to detox every organ at the same time? And I'm like, well, I never really thought about it that way. Yeah, I guess I would be. But I guess that's just not the way a good detox works, right? I mean,
so it's intelligent to target certain organ systems first. For instance, okay, and say we try to go do a whole body detox, but really the actual problem is in your liver. Yeah, whole body detox might have some stuff and it might cover the liver and everything, but you know, it's not going to be what you overall need. It's better to get into like what that person is going through. Now, this is the thing though, is that like we should be detoxing. Okay, liver detoxes should be once to twice a year for everyone anyway. Um, Digestive cleanses is kind of like as your regularity shows, especially if you go through a period where you're irregular, go ahead and do a digestive cleanse because you have toxic buildup. I mean, there's just, and I say if you've been, you know, I commonly tell people this, like every meal that you consume, you should have a bowel movement associated with that. And we should not be going multiple days without having bowel movements. From there, it's like you haven't had a bowel movement in 3 days, definitely, like, you know, that's possibly a clinical situation. But I mean, you should be doing a digestive cleanse somewhere anyway. But being incontinent, okay, is not, it's not the same as being constipated.
Oh.
Being constipated, okay.
Yeah.
Being
Very
incontinent, I'm going to go, yeah. So being incontinent is not the same as being constipated, y'all.
Yes.
Okay. Being incontinent, you know, possibly haven't had bowel movements in like a couple of days. Being constipated, you haven't had a bowel movement in over 3 days. You're possibly in a clinical situation. That's the whole difference there. Okay.
Yeah.
But being incontinent is still bad, and if we deal with that, we need to cleanse that. From there, all right, you can get into cleansing the liver system. Then from there, parasite cleanses, anything else, you know, certain organ systems that you're looking to cleanse, what have you. There's all kinds of cleanses out there. It just depends on you and your situation, what you really should generally most target. But I've advocated for liver cleanses and parasite cleanses annually for a while now, at least annually.
Isn't it interesting that like that's not part of Western medicine culture at all? That, you know, like to your point when you said, well, you should be at least cleansing your liver quarterly. Well, I mean, I never even heard of, aside from fasting, and it was never drilled into me that it's important to detox your body. And it makes sense. It so makes sense. But it just wasn't, you know, indoctrinated
Yes.
brain. I don't know.
So, you know, and when it comes to the insurance burden, this would, you know, doing stuff like this, regular treatment. I mean, you do that on your car. A lot of people treat their car so good, but they don't want to treat their body good.
Yeah.
And you think about it, man, you're going to get a new car.
True.
How many new bodies are you going to get in this life?
Yeah. We take our health for granted, I think. And it is easy to say, well, it's just too expensive to eat good, or it's just too, but yeah, like we spend it on our vehicle, we spend it on our house, we spend it on our clothes. We should be spending it on our well-being.
Yeah.
And yeah, it would lower the burden on insurance, but then who's going to need insurance? What healthy people need insurance, you know? It's just, it's all one big business. But anyway, so get back to detoxing. So like if somebody like me who...
Coming from where you came from,
Yeah.
do you think there's any possible way of integrating naturopathy into medical insurance?
I mean, I think there's definitely space to do that. It's going to take, though, it's probably going to have to start at the curriculum. Because like the problem is I was talking to somebody about, I think it was Dr. Layla, that you have, you know, these healthcare workers that have, you know, they're staying in for decades. And so they keep just passing that down and passing that down and passing that down. So it's going to have to probably start at the curriculum level. And then a doctor should be open to that, incorporating those things. Same as they should be open to patients coming in and saying, hey, I did a little bit of research and here's what I found. So, I mean, I think there's definite space and it should be happening, you know, but it would have to start at the curriculum, I think. Will that happen? I don't know.
I just don't see it. Which in my mind, if anything, you know, people should be given the choice on how they want to do that. But
Yeah.
because I already know how that's going to go, just bringing it to the pharmacies. But at least people are getting it. It's being made available.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they already do that with like digestive biles. You can get pancreatin at the hospital. You can get ditrophin, but like bovine ditrophin. Well, actually, I think they have porcine ditrophin. I don't think they do bovine ditrophin pharmaceutically so much. I think they more do the porcine because it's considered to be better.
Mm-hmm.
So they do some of the things that are used more in the naturopathic and the supplement realm, like animal biles, things like that. Ascorbic acid, vitamin D. There's supplements. They use some supplements, but some of the supplements that they use are going to be chemically derived. They're going to be chemically produced. So
removing toxins with toxins.
It's backwards.
Yeah.
So getting them into a whole food state, that's a big jump. And so, you know, petroleum, it ultimately comes down to petroleum. I've said this, that if they took petroleum, like the petroleum industry out, like if that was gone, that it's like 80% of the world's problems would be solved. We'd still have the rest to work on, but at least that would be a huge chunk.
Wow.
Taken care of. I mean, you look at...
That's significant.
Think about it, though. Like, the pollution. You know, the burning, the high energy costs. What pharmaceuticals are generally derived from and made from. What's polluting the oceans. You know, where are they trying to figure out? All these products are produced from petroleum.
Mm-hmm.
Like these plastics and shit.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we have energies, you know, energy technology being hidden from us by the petroleum industry because there's buy-up of rights to technologies. There's a push, you know, against alternative technologies. And so when it's a monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of people that are in on it. It's a big enough monopoly that they can kind of, you know, get away with it and make it look like there's multiple hands, but it's not really that many hands when you really get into it.
It's like one family.
It's a few families.
Yeah.
But not very many of them. One family here, pretty much, for the most part. I mean, but it's not always 100% the case as far as small production, large production, distribution, everything. You're only going to cross so many hands.
Yeah.
But that's kind of true for most industries.
Yes. I agree.
Which is why, I mean, pretty much generally the whole petroleum industry is, I mean, for the most part, corrupt. But
yeah.
And then, you know, you think of like what a lot of Pfizer's products are produced from.
Mm-hmm. I would like to know if people at that level, like, are they staying away from their products? Are they ingesting, you know, are they, I worked for a doctor once. It was like, I actually thought he was a weirdo at first because again, I was not, my mindset was very different then, but he was very holistic in his own approach. Although not so much in his practice, but like with himself, he only ate organic, would not touch prescription medications, was just very, very careful about what he put in, on, and around his body. And like, now I get it. Do I wish he would have been incorporating that into his practice? Yes. But, so yeah, so like I always wonder if there's people at the top of like these petroleum companies and pharmaceuticals, are they I mean, they've got to be wise to it, but are they keeping their families from it? Are they being careful about what they're, you know what I'm saying? Avoiding their products. And it's hard. Petroleum's everywhere. Makeup, pharmaceuticals, water bottles. It's everywhere.
Does it need to be?
Right. And why is it? Is it just the most is it just the most it's just the most cost effective solution?
Society's brainwashed into it.
Yeah.
That's the wholesale fact, is that from jump we're pushed into an education system that says it is this way, and it continues on. It's, you know, it's like you were asking me about like family members earlier.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother was a career nurse. She it's like 3-4 decades, something like that. She was around the practice, like she's around medical, you know, professional stuff for a while. That's what she did. She finished out the last of her career in hospice, and which I think, you know, she's a wonderful person. Like, I mean, and prior to that, I think, you know, she worked like an emergency and, you know, other clinics and stuff like that. But I think she did ER nurse for like a little while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We got to be a special person to do hospice. That takes a special heart.
She was something else. But yeah, you know, I want to wonder, you know, if she ever knew the wiser. It's like, for instance, she was a diabetic, used Splenda on a regular basis. I couldn't stand that shit. You know, she used it for herself. You know, she didn't really like necessarily try to put it in my stuff. Like, she just said that it was good for her because, you know, she couldn't do the sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it still tasted like sugar to her. So, like, you know, there was like, I feel like synthetic sweeteners and like energy drinks, stuff like that. Like, I feel like nurses probably deal with a lot of the same problems of the military.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, like road jobs and like, you know, heavy workplaces and everything. It's like they probably deal with a lot of the same issues that people are like just doing things to keep up their energy, you know, while they're working and everything. And I mean, nurses drink coffee, you know, nurses drink energy drinks. They do what they got to do to get by and everything. Yep. And so she was a coffee drinker, and she'd had her Splenda to her coffee. And so, you know, she ended up developing cancer later on in life. Not necessarily saying it's because of the Splenda. I just think, you know, I'm not a fan of artificial sweeteners. I'm kind of like glad that I didn't really have the taste for shit like that, because I like tried artificial sweeteners when I was a kid, and I was like, no.
I can't get past the taste either. Like, it doesn't matter which one. I agree.
And I'm glad that, like, I guess I didn't have the taste for it, because, like, I've seen people my age and younger drinking diet sodas as if they're, like, cool and healthy and everything.
Yeah.
I'm, like, thinking to myself, like, yeah, aspartame, that's the way to go.
Right? Might as well just eat the sugar.
Dude, just eat the sugar.
I
mean, we're talking like, sugar like has its possible negative effects on the neurological system over time.
Sure.
You are actually like consuming a nerve toxin. The thing about synthetic sweeteners is the way that they interrupt ATP synthesis in the body. They actually bind to, you know, that receptor, that process. Okay. And so when they go to interrupt that process, as if, because, you know, okay, our body primarily relies on glucose for ATP synthesis, right? When you put in something that mimics glucose, what do you think is going to happen in the body? And when you interrupt that process, when you clog up that process, you're clogging up all kinds of stuff, like all kinds of, you know, your immune system, your reconditioning of tissues, your energy levels, all that. Okay. So synthetic sweeteners are like, bad. Anyway.
I didn't realize all that. I didn't realize that they bound to the receptor like that. Okay.
Yeah, they interrupt ATP synthesis. Like there are a lot of negative effects associated with a lot of these things that are not talked about openly and not discussed. That's the thing is, like, I really feel like the food is what leads you on to the pharmas. They should kind of give the possible side effects of the food sometimes too, and the sweeteners and everything.
I don't disagree with you on that. But healthy people are not profitable.
If you got to cut out sugar, cut out sugar.
Yeah.
Go with monk fruit. Monk fruit's a good alternative for people who have, blood sugar control issues. It metabolizes a little bit easier in the body. It's a little bit easier on metabolism. But getting more of your B vitamins in, magnesium, these are some of the things I've been telling people for years. Good bioavailable forms of magnesium.
Okay, yeah, because that was going to be the next thing I said is like there's so many different forms of magnesium. So it's like, where do people start?
You want to avoid magnesium oxide citrate unless you're really just trying to induce a laxative effect in your body. Magnesium glycinate is like the common market favorite because it's got glycine in its compounds. Glycine is an amino acid that helps people sleep, improves muscle recovery. Also contributes to the synthesis of the tripeptide compound glutathione. Glutathione, being produced by 3 amino acids. So, it's 3 amino acids that contribute to the compound. You have cysteine, glutamine, and glycine. And so when you're taking magnesium glycinate supplements, you're also kind of improving the immune system. Magnesium itself helps with the immune system. Magnesium itself helps improve digestion, digestive regularity, contributes to somewhere between 300 and 600 processes in the body, including activation of enzymes for digestion, maintaining healthy circadian rhythms and sleep, cofactor like D3, K2, K1, boron, and several other factors when it comes to calcium distribution in the body. So there's a lot of these things that, it's for people who are dealing with osteopenia, osteoporosis type symptoms later on in life and all. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they have not been getting magnesium in their diet prior to. Because magnesium is something that your body is greedy with. 99% of the magnesium in your body is actually held in storage form. Only 1% is allowed to be released in serum form.
Oh, I didn't know that.
80% of that resides in your bones and contributes to bone structure and density. And you think of a lot of these, ladies who are dealing with osteopenia, osteoporosis as they get into their 40s and up. And a lot of that is because it's somewhere between 80 and 90% of the magnesium that you consume today is not going to be used for the next 7 to 10 years of your life. It's crazy. Yeah. Your body is crazy greedy with it, holds on to it.
And it hangs on to all of it no matter what type you're taking, what form of it you're taking. You're taking
No, it's got to be bioavailable. It's got to absorb in the body properly. That's the thing is it doesn't all just the magnesium oxide and citrate's not going to, but some of it in food form, yeah. But the magnesium glycinates are good. The magnesium taurates, the magnesium malates. Magnesium taurate's a good heart magnesium. Good for increasing magnesium circulation to the extremities. And so, contributes well to cardiovascular health. Magnesium malate is considered to be the most bioavailable form of magnesium on the market. That's kind of the general favorite. It's also considered to be the energizing magnesium. So it's a daytime magnesium rather than a nighttime, like how the magnesium glycinate is.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I think it contributes pretty well in these areas, to be honest with you. The magnesium, there's magnesium orotate. That's a good one. Magnesium L-threonate is the brain magnesium.
Okay.
So it's 40% of supplemental magnesium L-threonate actually ends up being absorbed into the brain. The other 60% evenly distributes to the rest of your cells. Has 100% bioavailability in humans. High quality stuff. Magtine is the common supplemental, compound that you would look for on the market as far as researching it. Because there's a lot of good, if you're looking at medical publications and things like that, scientific papers, Magtine would be what you would look up.
What about topically versus orally? Is there a better route? And is it...
Your primary sites for absorption of magnesium and a lot of other nutrients is in your intestines, most specifically your small intestine. So you really want to be getting them in internally in order to really get the benefits.
Okay.
But you can receive benefit from applying it to different parts of your body as well. You know, say like you take magnesium regularly, but you feel like there's certain muscles that are achy or sore or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those muscles feel dehydrated, what have you. Rubbing some magnesium oil or cream on it is going to be helpful. Bruises, bruising, things like that. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Topical silver is great for this, actually.
Okay.
And so that's something that I've commonly, put people toward is like topical silver gel for like, pink eye infections. You can use like liquid topical silver for like ear infections, things like that. I commonly end up using like grapefruit seed extract. If I remember correctly. It's a product from Naturopathy that actually works really well.
You put it in the ear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it works. Yeah. There's so many people that like take antibiotics because of ear infections.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you're depleting your gut flora. It's like, oh, the infection's up here. What the fuck are you doing?
Right. Well, I mean, I think myself back to the amount of antibiotics I took. Oh, Lord. Too many.
Have you taken probiotics?
Yes.
Good.
But just recently started doing that. Like, I never did it when I was on antibiotics or anything like that.
Yeah, I think we got to have a talk about that. Anyway, so
Apparently.
Yeah. And Lyme is parasites related. Obviously. I mean, we know that. Don't you think it's probably going to like infect the parasites within you to survive?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. That makes
So
sense.
this is why antibiotics really can't touch it. Because the antibiotics don't really hurt the parasites.
I should have done a parasite cleanse.
You do like anti-parasitic, well, it's not necessarily what I'm saying. You do anti-parasitic compounds to fight it down. And yeah, you can pretty much rid yourself of the infection because full-on parasite cleanses aren't necessary for all situations, but they can be helpful in a lot of situations. Some people, like say you're in a chronically ill state, may not be the best thing for you. Or if you are sensitive to, it's like say you got high like homocysteine levels because you're like MTHFR, or you're sensitive to nitrogen compounds. Say you, I've just had plenty of people come to me that had just bad effects from parasite cleanses, and so just be careful with doing that. And some of them are kind of strong and everything. I just think as far as like the natural health realm and all, if you're entering it for the first time, starting out with a parasite cleanse may be okay for some healthy individuals. It's just not necessarily the step for chronically ill individuals. For people who are, in the sick bed, just getting off of pharmas, maybe you already have low liver activity as it is, things like that. It's going to be a possibly dangerous route for you.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, we talked about it a little bit today, but I didn't know that before then. And so basically, if you're already ill, fatigued, and not feeling well, it can kind of make you worse, make those symptoms worse.
Well, okay, say like you have high homocysteine levels already. Do you think adding high ammonia is going to contribute well? So like with parasitic die-off, when parasites are living inside of you, they do everything that you do. Eating, sleeping, drinking, pooping, farting, taking the kids to school, watching the Super Bowl, all that shit. Like they live out lives, right? Okay. And when they build up too much, we experience like a parasite like die-off type symptom without actually contributing anti-parasitic compounds. I call this parasite overload.
Okay.
That's just from too many of them being in there and living their lives. And now you got like all this junk, your brain foggy, you're sick all the time, probably got tumors developing and weird things going on as far as like your health, your immune system. That's because they've hijacked everything. Your body is theirs right now.
Okay. Ooh.
And so doing parasite cleanses is important for these people. But if you just start there, you're talking about years of damage.
Because you need your organs to be functioning properly to be getting rid of them when you're going to kill them off, essentially.
So when parasites die, they do the same thing that you do. All right, there's like an ammoniac gas release, like the smell of a rotting corpse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and at that point, when you have that happening inside of you, your body's got to be able to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, it's going to cause damage to your neurological tissue. It's going to cause damage to your digestive tissue. I mean, everywhere. And your neurological tissue is all throughout your body. Your brain is all throughout your body.
True. Mm-hmm.
And that's another aspect of health that just a lot of people don't understand. That there really is no disconnection. The same blood that runs through your big toe is the same blood that runs through your brain. And so taking a whole approach to your health in your life, for instance, removing limbs and tumors and stuff, or removing limbs and tumors too. I mean, it depends on the situation, but a lot of that just really isn't necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is that you can contribute compounds to degrade and diminish those tumors without the removal of that. It's like, no, it's less surgeries. It's unnecessary surgery.
Yeah.
That's one thing, like gallbladder removal. A lot of that is not necessary. This goes right into the calcium distribution issues. 80% of gallstones are calcium related. So that means we could do away with 4/5 of those surgeries if people would be getting their calcium distributors in, possibly. Like magnesium. Or if people were just aware. I mean, I've seen people, ladies who are in their like 40s and 50s coming into the health store and like buying up Chanca Piedra like it's gold. But getting the magnesium in to begin with, so that we're not having the stone build up, and those stones actually begin in your liver.
Mm-hmm.
And then distribute to your other organ systems. That's how they happen to end up in the kidneys and the gallbladder, because those are your two, immediate organ systems that are correlated to your liver.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have your liver producing biles for digestion that it is secreting into your gallbladder. Gallbladders are necessary, by the way. Mm-hmm. We're not evolving out of gallbladders.
Oh, but they can just take them right out.
No. We're not evolving out of gall. Like, I don't like this. It's not happening like that. That is bullshit. 600 years from now, 1,000 years from now, 50,000 years from now, humanity, as long as it's around, will still have gallbladders. We need gallbladders. Okay, that is such bullshit. So what the gallbladder is, though, is a storage facility for the concentration of biles. Mm-hmm. All right. At a certain point of digestion, say food entering the digestive tract, there's a neurological response sent to your brain, letting your brain know, right? Hey, there's food in here. Your brain regards that. It catches on pretty quick. Mm-hmm. It sends another signal to your gallbladder, basically saying, release the biles.
Yes.
All right, from there, the gallbladder drops the biles into your digestive tract, and we have the improvement in absorption of fats, proteins, amino acids, nutrients, what have you. Better digestive regularity. And that's, one of the big issues for people who have had their gallbladder removed is they can't stay regular. Mm-hmm. They're either incontinent or it's too much.
Yep.
Food doesn't really feel like it's getting absorbed as much as it used to. So, I mean, it's all pretty obvious.
They think they're going to feel so much better afterward, and then they end up having these issues. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really improve. And now, getting those types onto like ox bile supplements, enzyme supplements, you got to take one with every meal, basically, as if, you got to do what your gallbladder would be doing.
Mm-hmm. Rerouting it is what they're doing, essentially. So I want to go back real quick to the parasite cleanses. Have you heard of Hexheimer reactions that people are having something called Hexheimer or Herxheimer reactions to parasite cleansing? Have you heard of that?
Not specifically. The only thing I could say is that, well, I mean, I could speak a lot on, people having negative die-off symptoms because it can contribute negatively to all kinds of conditions to have the buildup of toxins in your body. This is the same reason why I think people shouldn't have cats in their houses, but, that's not really. Well,
because of parasites or?
Well, that and the ammonia.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a nerve toxin and you're like constantly being exposed to it. I love cats. I love all animals.
Yeah, I do too. I hadn't even thought about that, though.
I shouldn't talk too much.
Why? Yes, you should. That's what we're here to do. We're here to educate. What better person to do that? Interesting. I had never thought of that. I have several cats. I love my cats, but that does make sense.
Do you experience brain fog
women
a lot?
aren't. Yes. Yes. I do. Seriously. I have 4 cats in my house. Oh, man. I thought it was just age. I need to, route them outside or something so they can go use the bathroom out there and not have to deal with it. Ugh. Well, pregnant women aren't supposed to scoop their litter boxes. I know it's, for a different reason, but still.
It's for the same reason.
Yeah.
Because, babies, you definitely don't want baby brains being exposed to that stuff, no. Well, especially while it's developing.
Yeah.
But, hey, our brains are constantly redeveloping.
True. What about MS and parasite cleanses? Lynn It to Win It.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to her, I think it was last week, and she said she had mentioned it to her physician, her specialist at one point, who actually I think took the article that she had presented him with and read up on it, thought it was very interesting. Which I guess it also kind of goes back to, I hear a lot of people say parasite cleanse is the answer to almost everything. To your point, not just jumping to that, but making sure your organs are properly functioning prior to just jumping to that. But, would you suggest would you suggest it for everybody, I guess, but not as a first response? It just feels like so many people are connecting now, every disorder to parasite.
Well, first off, I like to watch, and Lynn's great, so very, very sweet person. Yeah, I've been around Lynn on the app for a while now.
Yeah,
and sweet. I know she's been through a lot too.
Yeah.
And so, but speaking on those things, I kind of revert back to the same thing I always do. It's just watch the long-term effects. If a person says that a parasite cleanse cured them of their condition or what have you, just watch and see, okay, how are you doing 6 months from now? How are you doing a year from now? How are you doing, year and a half from now? Now, regular parasite cleanses, everyone should be doing anyway. If you feel like that helped with your condition or what have you, that's great. Testify about it. Tell about it. There's a lot that goes into those things, though. You also have to consider, too, that the organ systems surrounded by the organ systems that are responsible, I should say, for ridding the body of toxins when you have interruptions in those organ systems. Mm-hmm. That's it's say, low liver activity, kidneys, things like that. that's really where you're looking at some real possible problems if you get into a parasite cleanse too quick. But if your body's ready for it, everyone needs to be doing them.
But it might
That's
not be like
just
a one size fits all. I mean, there's different parasite cleanses, right? There's different products you can use to cleanse.
most certainly. I mean, and some of these kits have been on the market for friggin' years. You know,
Yeah.
Paragard's been around for a while. Now has had a very good formula that, I mean, that stuff is like what, $14-15 a bottle. Um, I like to sell artemisinin just on their own. And the reason why is that there's a lot of people out there that might react to parasite blends. It's better just to get regular anti-parasitic compounds in their diet to um, give relief and hold back on the negative effects associated with their conditions rather than, try to completely, go full on anti-parasite on their body, nuke their body. And now, we've caused damage. We've turned people away from holistic health. I just I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
I think people get scared, especially if they go to try the holistic health realm for the first time and they have a negative reaction to something. It would frighten them, and I don't blame them for that.
True.
So I try to keep things light, especially at first. So especially if you're chronically ill, I really feel like jumping into a parasite cleanse is not the best thing. But, Lynn's been working on her health for years.
Yes.
So when I watch her and watch what she's kind of, she's had a few different avenues that have contributed to her progress.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very proud of her for sticking with it and keeping her energy up. And
Same.
also to, sharing information on her story, because we all learn from her. And,
oh my gosh,
yeah. So
I like Lynn. I've always liked Lynn. She has really figured out how to navigate and utilize Western medicine and a holistic approach. Like, she's found a really good partnership in both, I think, and figured out how to use Western medicine as a service. Like, people forget it's a service you're paying for. And if you don't like that doctor, fire them and go hire somebody else, or that those medical records are yours. You should be asking for them at every visit. She's on it with stuff like that.
I 100% agree. And I think that is the attitude that you need to have. Medical advocacy is a huge aspect of, what I pushed for a while. And obviously you need to be your own advocate first, but it's nice to be able to have advocates with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're someone that has been saying for years as well, like, don't go to clinics alone.
Yeah. Don't ever go to a hospital, especially alone.
Don't send your loved ones there alone. If you have to go alone, or you have to whatever, take a recording device. I mean, whatever it is that you got to do. If that's not for just the benefit of protection, it could also be for the benefit of maintaining information, because patient brain is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's times when you might not even really be fully grasping what's going on around you, what you're doing and why. And few of us sit in those clinics and take notes as we're going about things. Taking notes would possibly be helpful.
Yep.
But honestly, there's probably going to be stuff that you miss taking notes. I mean, I really feel like recording should become somewhat normalized to some degree. But, notes are very helpful.
Well, you had a really good idea one time that doctors should wear and nurses should too, a cam like police do. And I mean, that brings like instant pushback, but okay, I get HIPAA, but there's no reason why it couldn't happen just inside that room, that patient face-to-face interaction. I guess it would be hard, like, okay, so they have to turn it on and off, but I mean, I feel like that would protect everybody in the long run. That would help doctors, that would help patients.
I think so too. And it should be that, okay, basically it should be up to the patient. The way that I was presenting it, Because, yeah, there's HIPAA and this and that and everything, but HIPAA is supposed to be there to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
If you sign a paper, you say something like, I want to be recorded, it's your information that's being recorded,
Right.
not theirs. So the whole arguing HIPAA thing, that would be like the doctor's office or the medical clinic saying, well, don't you want to protect your own information? It's like, no, I want you to fucking record.
What
like,
better way to do that than to record?
Right. It's like, thank you. Like, medical records are illegal. Perfectly legal.
Yeah.
It's your information on record somewhere.
Right.
The recordings don't have to be fucking public.
Right. Correct. And they wouldn't be. So
they wouldn't be. So it would be basically the same as medical records. I think that would be a good thing for the medical industry in a lot of ways, but then it might not be such a good thing for the medical industry.
Well, yeah.
Because the accountability factor.
Right. But
yeah. It would improve the civil notifications, or the civil cases.
Right.
Yeah, because especially if you're able to turn the cases legal, yes, that would help on everything. But civil cases backed by film and documentation go a whole lot further than just, oh, this happened to me and here's the big bad wolf.
Yes, and it would also protect doctors in the same sense, that if somebody accused them and they, had notified a patient and the patient tried to say they didn't, or whatever. I mean, it would protect everybody, I think. Why is there such a pushback? Why is there such a pushback from practices? But why is there such a pushback from HIPAA?
The same reason why, you had police pushing back on the body cams. Oh, it's going to affect the way we do our jobs. And it's like, it sounds like you don't want accountability. And you had so many people saying that it was like anti-police to want accountability on law enforcement. It's like, yo, that's our money.
Right.
They are supposed to serve us. Fuck yeah, I want accountability on them. You don't. You just want to let them be a rampant culture that just gets to do whatever they want and treat us how they want, and the legal system is behind them. That's insanity.
Yep.
I'll never support something like that. I can't support something. I support police. I just don't support the complete lack of accountability that was being pushed by some of those movements. It's like, no, we need accountability. That's a good thing for everyone. And it's like what you said. It's the same thing with medical staff. It could cover medical staff in situations. It could be the rope in others.
Sure. But it holds them accountable, and that's the point.
Yeah, it's like that's based on you. That's based on your actions.
Yep. Yeah, be a good person. You got nothing to worry about. Do your job.
Act as if you're being recorded anyway.
Correct. Well, you might as well these days because there's cameras everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, we all basically are. Shit. And I mean, in some form. Man, and if you're not religious, and you don't believe God in heaven's watching, I mean, then believe that someone with a camera or a listening device probably is. Yeah. Okay?
Good way to put it.
If a higher power doesn't work for you, just understand.
If you can't be accountable to being a good freaking person because God above is watching, then just pretend you're being recorded everywhere because you probably are.
Whatever you got to do.
Yeah. Well.
That shit works.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. If we could kind of get people to the better understanding of, it's like, for instance, what inflammation is, what inflammation means, why does inflammation happen in the body. A lot of that needs to be discussed, and, it's like our own immune system doing it. Why does that happen? And getting people into kind of the better understanding of what's happening in their bodies outside of just toxins and cleansing and everything. Because there's that. But that's only a portion of it. You know? What are the parasites competing with you for is what you need to be asking yourself.
Sugar,
so,
right? Isn't sugar a big one for them?
they consume, so basically they attach to your intestinal walls and consume your RBCs and
Oh,
everything associated. So it's like, the reason why they attach to your intestinal walls is because that's where your body's absorbing the nutrients. So that's where the most nutrient dense blood is going to be.
so they're
And
stealing
so
it from you.
they're taking your iron, they're taking your sugar, they're taking your vitamins, all of it. They're going after the good stuff, and they're trying to leave you with enough to keep yourself running.
I was going to say, so they're getting first dibs and you're getting what's left over.
Part of the reason why parasite cleansing really is important, and getting anti-parasitic compounds in your diet, because what I didn't realize about a lot of my intestinal inflammation is it could have been parasite related.
Okay.
This can also happen from taking too much antibiotics and malcolonizing your intestinal flora, because intestinal flora is actually also what's going to help prevent the colonization of bad flora like C. diff. So I'm sure you've heard of C. diff before.
Oh gosh, yeah. That is a very distinct look and smell to that. You know it. You just the minute you enter into a hallway or see it, you know. I'm very familiar with it, and it's
you're
painful
probably
for the patient. Very.
Yeah, I mean, these are your intestinal linings being eaten.
Yes.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, and that's what the parasites are kind of doing too, but they're more just attaching those things. The C. diff that's actually eating your linings, consuming them, and your fecal matter is essentially the byproduct. There's nothing solid coming out. It's just liquid.
Yep.
Mucusy type stuff, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, antibiotics are like the primary cause of that.
Yes. Yep, that I knew.
So, if people take antibiotics, getting them onto a probiotic, that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I know we want to talk a little bit more about my journey too on here and everything. And we can do that as we go by. But yeah, like a lot of my journey, things that I went through, it was a process of suffering, like what I said before. I like to think today that it was suffering with a purpose and that there was a good reason behind it. And a lot of the things that I learned and I was programmed to be impossible, obviously, are not impossible. And out of experiencing that and out of finding those truths myself, I've been able to help others find those truths. And that's a beautiful thing. That's what keeps me going, and a lot of this stuff. That's really what, the fact that others might ease their suffering too.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's people like us that help that happen, that make that possible, opening up their minds, because from there, once they believe it's possible, then it becomes probable, and then it can happen.
Yeah, well, I've, like I've said it a million times, I've learned so much from you. And so, I hate to see anybody go through any type of suffering, but I do think, you have figured out a way to turn yours into something really good in helping other people. I think you are probably one of the most dedicated people on that app to their following, and one who really prioritizes other people and the wellness of other people. So I appreciate you immensely, and I know every single one of your followers does as well. So I'd love to see you keep doing what you're doing. And I think, maybe we do like a once a month, like where we just sit and have a conversation, and maybe we pick a different topic each time. Like maybe I don't have to do interviews every time, an interview style. Like maybe we just talk and pick a subject like, we kind of did today. We talked a lot about parasite cleansing. But maybe we just pick a topic.
For that. Yeah, I'm down for that. I know we were wanting to kind of do this show together and all that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm interested in this, and you know, this is a cool thing. So no matter
Yeah,
what
I think so
happens, stay
too.
with it. Yeah. But like, I like it. I want to be here more.
I want to have you
So
here more.